Okay, so let's try another thing out of 11.6. And this is, there are a bunch of these, like number 70, towards the end of 11.6's homework. And I just want to give you a little flavor of how to do them. These are why you shouldn't worry too much about what the back of the book says versus what you get, okay? Because there are a lot of little things that log rules can do to make things look funny, right? Like I wouldn't look at, if this was my answer, if I've got e raised to the log of x over 2, I wouldn't look at that and think to myself, yeah, the back of the book has square root of x. Those are the same, right? Check. I'd be like, wait, I don't have what's in the back of the book, right? I probably did it wrong. Yeah? You guys, like, a little confidence is definitely necessary for these ones. Okay? So just because your answer doesn't look like the back of the book, don't sweat it. There's lots of weirdness. So you got to get out your log rules and try to start making them the same. So when I see this thing, I got to think to myself, okay, they told me to verify this, so it's probably true, right? Okay, so I should think, how could I make this thing, I don't know, how could I see if these are the same or not? Okay, careful. So don't do this, which is slash the e in the log, right? If you tried that, you've got this, right? You go like that, what are you left with? No, you don't know what you're left with. Why don't you know what you're left with? Because you went across this fraction bar, right? If you were doing order of operations to do this to an x, right? You do the log first, then you divide by 2, then you put it all in the exponent of an e, right? You got to do this grouping symbol, then this grouping symbol, the divide by 2, then the e. Okay, see that? There's something in between the e and the log, so they can't get at each other to cancel. You guys want to see a bubble on that? So if I thought about this as a function, right? My function was this thing, so I might think f of x is e to the log of x over 2. If I think about doing this to an x, the first thing I do is I stick it in a log. So I apply the ln to it. To get here, now I'm looking at ln of x's. Then I need to do the next grouping symbol, which is divide by 2.
Wait, is that the right way to do it or the wrong way to do it?
That's the right way to do it. This is just following order of operations, right? And then I do e to this stuff, and I get e to the ln of x over 2. I would like to say that this step and that step undo each other, right? But they actually have to be next to each other for that to happen. Does that kind of make sense? So right now, these two steps can't get at each other to undo. So this ain't gonna work. So instead, I should look at this thing, my e to the, so I've got e to the ln of x over 2.
We should make the other side x to the power 1/2.
Ah, so I'd like to say, okay, this is e to the 1/2 times log of x, right? And then what?
The other side, the x.
Others.
So that's
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we might think to ourselves, this side is x to the 1/2. When I'm verifying that something is something else, I'm going to have to start with one side and go to the other. Does that make sense? So I'm starting on the left hand, and I'm trying to get to x to the 1/2 power. So that tells me I should probably try to get that 1/2 there up in the top, right? How do I do that? So my problem was I had this divide by 2 in between these two things, right? Okay, so I have some log rules. My log rules say that if I have a number times a logarithm, I can put this up in the exponent. So here I'm using a log rule to say this is e to the log of x to the 1/2. And now what?
Now you change it.
Now the e's, no, don't be crazy. Don't go to the other side yet.
Well, you can cancel, then go to the other side.
Yeah, so now the e and the log actually undo each other because they're next to one another. So I've got x to the 1/2, and that's the square root of x. You guys see this? Kind of? Ish? Yeah, so this is a verify thing, right? So verify things are weird. This is maybe the first time we've seen one of these.
That third, the other you did was a third choice, right? That's not, or that's the right way to do it?
This is the,
Top one?
this is what you want, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And actually, this is your whole answer because they ask you to verify this. So your whole answer should be this whole process. And maybe you should note some steps. So what were my steps? If I was to try to explain this to someone, which is really maybe what a verify thing should be, how would I explain each of my steps here?
So would you have to do it in words?
Yeah, so if I was going to do this in words, how would I think about this equal sign? What did I do there?
Divided by 2.
I thought about divide by 2 is the same thing, right, as multiply by 1/2. So I might write divide by 2 is multiply by 1/2. Okay, see that? Okay, what did I do for this step? Yeah, that's the power rule for logarithms. That's a log. I might even just write, this is a log rule. Okay. How about this guy?
Cancel.
Yeah, I might write E and ln undo. Right? Those two functions undo one another as long as they're next to each other. Okay, then what would I write for this one?
Oh,
Aren't you gonna cube it?
the exponent rule.
Yeah, this is just a way of thinking about square roots, right? So, square root is the 1/2 power.
I
Okay.
can't remember, why would the E and the L
Because the e and the log, right? This is a base and a logarithm of that base. So this is like 10 to the log base 10 undoing each other. Right? This one's the kind of funny science one that we haven't really talked about why we would use. Cool? Does this help a little bit? So on a verify thing, really this is a list of steps going from left to right, or from right to left if you really wanted to.
Which log rule was it? I'm sorry.
So this is the log rule. So if I wanted maybe a better explanation, this is the log rule. Log of x to a power is p log of x.
Okay.
So if I have a power up top in my argument, I can pull that down front and multiply. Or if I have a number down front, I can pull that in as a power.
So what did you do on that?
I took the 1/2 that was sitting out front times the logarithm, and I pulled it in as a power.
Oh, okay.
That's
It
this.
goes both ways then.
Yeah, that's this goes up. Right? Or if I was looking from that perspective, that's this goes down.
I forbid they're all, they look
Yeah, equal signs don't care about the order, right? This is the kind of factor distribute problem. Good on this?